Yo, this is the Streetwise Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew McReynolds. I'm a franchise consultant, a multi-brand franchise owner, a father, a husband, a fitness enthusiast. And it is my mission to help you get off of zero and join the rest of us in achieving your dreams. Get your popcorn ready, buckle up, let's go. All right, on this episode, we got Michael Streight, luxury lifestyle training with us today. We get kind of vulnerable in this one, folks. We talk about pain, we talk about struggle, and how those situations molded us into who we became today as men, as fathers, as leaders. We talk about growing a business and the importance of mentorship and a coach and a guide who can holistically school you up and help you to get where you need to be. You guys are going to like this one. Get your popcorn ready. Michael Streight, luxury lifestyle training. Let's go. Michael Streight, what's going on, man? Welcome to the Streetwise Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. Doing good. It's warm here in Texas, but
Man,
it'll pass.
warm is an understatement, bro. It is all caps hot.
That's very true. With two T's.
Yeah, no doubt, man. What are you working on today? I know we worked to fit this into a specific time on your calendar. What
Yeah.
else you got? You got some appointments, you out networking, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean everyone's got the same 24 hours, so definitely by no means like does that solidify anything of on my schedule, but usually ironically Wednesdays are some of my busiest days in regards to which I know we'll probably discuss a little bit more, but running a training business, I do about 10 to 12 sessions a day on Wednesdays. So it's kind of more like in the business, and then kind of Tuesday, Thursdays, and part of Fridays are more kind of like admin, working on the business days. So a little bit different with travel and summer and people in and out. So, I mean, it's really scheduling is like a game of Tetris. It's just adjusting and moving
I
things
feel
in.
that.
And, if it's important, you're going to make it work. So we're here.
Man, no, I feel that, man. And dude, I knew you were going to be a natural at this. That leads me right into my first question. What is it that you're building right now? What is it that, you are just spending, I don't know how much time you're spending in and on this business, but what is it? What are you doing? What gets you up every day?
Gosh, that is a very loaded question. I would definitely say my kind of cliche, but my family, I've got two crazy little boys that are 3 and 2 and a
Let's
beautiful wife.
go.
So those little guys keep me going and keep me hungry and take a lot of my energy, but also give me a lot of my energy because I want to work hard for them and support and provide. But more so, man, just my where I'm kind of at specifically and working on is my business. I started my brand luxury lifestyle training kind of right after COVID, and instead of really seeing that as a disservice and devalue, if that's a word, to like the industry of like, man, people can't train in person. I've worked with a higher end kind of clientele. So my idea was like, man, how can I always add value to people's lives? So this kind of concierge coach and concierge higher end experience became to cultivate in my mind. And that's what kind of really how luxury lifestyle training was born, was to create a higher end training and lifestyle experience. And even more so, I kind of just changed on just kind of my mission that I've kind of changed just this year is to impact people's lives through a higher end training and lifestyle experience. And I've kind of got these different branches of LLT and some other fitness and lifestyle endeavors that are coming to market that I'm really just all in on that mission. So that's where I'm really pouring into.
Man, there's like there's like 12 different things that I want to ask as a follow-up question to that. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be hard for me to keep this in the time limit, but you know what? If we go over, I'll just cut this into 2 episodes. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm good.
So okay, first, what gives you the right to do this, man? Like, why are you qualified to help the people that you're trying to help? What gives you the right?
Yeah,
Why are you
that's a
qualified?
I like that question. That is a great question. I mean, humbly, I would say I'm not. and I think we could all probably say that in a way of our endeavors, where we kind of almost have this like imposter syndrome. Like, man, how did I end up here? And for me, it goes back to a lot of just like God's grace. There's a lot of places I shouldn't have been, or probably worse places that I should have been, where God really just kind of took a hold of me. And that goes all the way back to like, dude, I haven't told this story in years, but I have a twin sister. I have three sisters. And in first
Wow.
grade, my twin sister and I ran out of McDonald's without my dad, and she stopped, and I didn't. And my dad came out and just screamed at the top of his lungs, "Oh my God!" And was like literally screaming out to God. And I just stopped. And I literally remember like so vividly, like it was a black Cadillac. The mirror went over my head, and he's like, at that night, they said, "Why did you stop?" I said, "Dad pulled my shirt." And my mom was like, "Dad wasn't by you." And I was like, "No, Dad like
Whoa.
grabbed like that, like pulled my shirt." And again, I mean, like just that was a moment of time like, okay, man, I believe God's real. And so there's probably a lot of other moments we could all probably share where like, man, I probably should have been hit by that car, but God had a bigger plan and purpose. And
Whoa.
so I'm just trying to live that out. Like I found out my freshman year of college that I had a mild case of dyslexia. I always struggled through academics, and I had this twin sister who amazing athlete, 3.6 to 4.0 GPA, and I'm like struggling with like a 2.0, and I'm like, I'm not partying, I'm not doing anything dumb. This is rough. And instead of using that as a crutch, I used it like, okay, now I really understand ways that my mind learns and how I'm visual and how I need these kind of cues. And so, man, just being humble. Like our core values here at LLT are intimate, intentional, and interactive. And big things I ask of my coach and my team is like, be authentic, take ownership, not responsibility, take ownership. Anybody can be responsible for anything, but like take ownership for your role, for your position, and for your people, and be open to learn, fail forward. I think that gives the right for anybody to do anything. So yeah, that may have been a longer winded answer.
Dude, that was perfect. If you ever see me look away, it's because I'm taking notes. I think there's so much
Yeah, you're good.
value in hearing from people's stories, what they learned. That story is crazy.
Yeah,
And if I'm honest with myself, I mean, there are so many of those moments that I've experienced in my life. And, this is, it's just wild how somehow our minds somehow find a way to forget those things, and we consistently seek additional validation, whether that's a year later, 2 years later. It's like sometimes we forget about those. Like in the moment, it's like, oh man, there ain't no doubt in the world, like I have a calling on my life. That almost went bad. Praise the Lord that it went
yeah,
this way. And then we sometimes have selective memory, don't we?
dude, for sure. That moment in my life, and even more of a backstory. My mom had three miscarriages before she had me and my twin sister. So there's like 8 years between my second sister. And so through that third miscarriage, they just were pretty, beat, and they thought they were done. And she read Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declare the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. And tried again, and had, instead of having one, they had two. So that verse actually have it tattooed on me. And then ironically, my two older sisters both have three girls, so we have a lot of girls in our family. And my firstborn's a boy, and my middle name is Raymond after my dad. And we came to my parents and said, "Hey, mom and dad, like, man, like this is just such a solidification type of moment of like A, getting a boy in our family, and B, to carry on the straight name." And we named him Jeremiah Raymond after just like,
Wow.
man, God's sovereignty. So not to kind of, I know that's a lot, but like there's purpose, and we believe that. And man, part of just even me diving into the mission in this field that I'm in, like I've just really marinated and dug my feet down into the sand of like, man, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. Like I'm gonna stop. I'm not even gonna think about a plan B, because I'm only gonna focus on plan A. And if I'm only focusing on plan A, there is no plan B. And I'm gonna do it in an authentic, true way. And I think people really can see that. And are attracted to that type of kind of personality and character, and that's the type of business and kind of culture I want to create.
Oh, that's great, man. And that's a beautiful thing. And you're right. People are attracted to it. And I remember the first day I saw you across the room in the McKinney Downtown networking
Uh,
group. And I felt it, dude. I felt it when you stood up and you gave your soundbite. And yeah, I agree 100%. And if you can't tell, I get fired up about stuff like that.
for sure.
Um, dude, the other thing that just, I like to pick at people's stories, man, because there's so much value in our individual story. There's so much that can be gained. You talked about the miscarriages that your family has experienced, and
Mhm.
one of the hardest moments in my life was in 2019. My wife and I were 38 weeks pregnant with our second little girl. My first is 5 years old. He's almost six, and then a year and a half later, we get pregnant again. 38 weeks pregnant, and she has a stillbirth. And man,
Yeah.
that took me out of the game, all the
Wow.
way out of the game. And it was a dark place for a really long time. And obviously, we've carried this with us for forever. But I think one of the things that brought me out of it was getting to experience other people's pain as I
Mhm.
was going through mine. I mean, there are so many stories of people who, because we've always been very vulnerable, but and open with kind of our story and what we've experienced. And because of that, so many people have been open to us and shared in their pain. And it's crazy how much you can
Yeah,
relate to a person through their
dude.
pain and through those experiences. And I think it's really special that, I
Yeah,
mean, the fact that you shared that, and the fact that, you were the first boy, and then you were also able to have a son, and just the family is carrying on. And in the moment, I mean, your parents probably experienced some dark times. And so
yeah,
for it to come full circle now, I'm sure that's beautiful to
yeah.
to see firsthand.
Well, dude, that I definitely got goosebumps and kind of tearing up a little bit. Which is crazy that you just said that. And I'm, man, dude, like you obviously understand here in a sec. I understand that my wife and I have had two miscarriages recently,
Wow.
the past 6 to 9 months, and I mean, our joke has been that like we could just look at each other and get pregnant. It's been, uh, I mean, without kind of going probably too TMI, it's just our intimacy is just been really easy, but also there's been a lot of kind of history of just hurt in the past for my wife, and she's an open book, and I know she would be okay with me sharing that. But it's also, so many others are on the other fence where they struggle to have kids, and then so
Yeah.
for us to like literally got pregnant on the first try with both our boys, and then we just had two miscarriages, and our most recent was a little girl. We found
Wow.
out, and we were gonna name her after my father-in-law's sister that passed. We named her Joan. And then my wife was in Israel and just found this beautiful painting of a girl named Abigail, like Abigail with a V. And she was supposed to be born in July here in the next couple weeks, and end of July. But yeah, dude, that it's been hard, like kind of like deciding, like, okay, we need to kind of pull the reins back a little bit. What are we seeing or not seeing? And but yeah, dude, I mean, pressing into other people's pain and suffering. I mean, there's definitely truth in like mourn with those who mourn, be joyful with those who are joyful, and yeah, but and we believe and hope that we're gonna see her again another day, and yeah, that's not easy, and unfortunately, it's a lot more common than people know or share. So
No doubt, man. I had a guy, Coach Ty Knott, shout out, um, that I know just through family connections. He's with the XFL right now, and I probably haven't talked to him
yeah,
for months, but he called me out the blue, and it's like, man, how many kids do you have now? I was like, well, I got three. He said, whoa, when we used to work together, we worked together at the Alliance, the AAF, Alliance of American Football, back in 2019. He's like, you just had the one, and then you guys had the stillbirth, right? And I was like, yeah, man, and kind of just said very similar. This was yesterday, same conversation,
mm,
like just talking to you now. And it was so random because I hadn't talked about
yeah,
this. And that might have prepped me for today, now that I think about
totally.
it. Crazy. Thank
Yeah,
you, Lord.
Yeah.
But and he literally said, he was like, my wife and I never really talked about this, but we experienced a miscarriage, and nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever talks about,
Yeah.
the man, the father, and the type of
Yeah.
burden that, my father-in-law. I remember this was like a day. This was either the day of, like, we're literally sitting in the hospital, and I'm bawling my eyes out. Everybody is, the whole family's there, and he pulls me aside, and he's like, um, I know this is hard, but just be ready, because she's going to carry this differently, and it's going to be heavier for her. Not that it's going to be harder, but he used the word, it's going to be heavier for
Mm.
her. So you got to be ready for that. And at the time, I mean, it kind of made me mad, honestly. I was like, I'm not trying to hear that right now.
Yeah.
But 4 years later, and I'll never forget it. And it's true. It doesn't mean that my burden isn't real and it's not there. But as a husband and as a spiritual leader, you need to acknowledge that things weigh on your spouse differently. And that's what you're there
Yes.
for, is to her, hold her up and be a support system. And that works both ways. But, it's just one of those things where, and I want to talk about this later, but mentorship and having people that can speak into your
Yeah.
lives, just the value in that. And I'll tell you, man, it doesn't ever go away. It gets easier in ways, but it never goes away, dude. I was sitting in the
Yeah.
car, so it's my wife. We got a 3-row, and my wife, whenever we're all together, she's the driver. She likes to drive, and I don't mind sitting in shotgun. And
Yeah.
so we've got my daughter, my youngest, who's 1, and then my 3-year-old boy, Judah, and then Roman, my 5-year-old, sits in the back. So we got the 2 boys and the 1 girl, and it's a 3-row, and there's just that seat back there. I hit the mic, so I'm gonna say
Mm.
it again. There's just the seat back there that it's just like an extra spot, and I never think about it. But just the other day, and I think we were driving to church or coming back, I don't remember, but it's just like the acknowledgement of that seat didn't have to be empty,
Oh,
you
dude.
know, and
Yeah.
it doesn't go away, man. And it's good to talk about it. It's good to
Yeah.
process it because it makes it real.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, I'm glad that we're able. I think that's really going to help somebody. Like, this part was so unintended,
Yeah.
but if this
Yeah.
one, I mean, I feel like we could just stop the call right now, and somebody would have found value from that. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
dude.
you for sharing that, and I think that's really good. Um, well, I want to go. I mean, there's a couple different ways. We
Yeah.
kind of hit on some stuff earlier than intended, but that's awesome. I want to take this into 2 different ways. I want to talk about mentorship. You are a person who I guarantee has benefited from having solid mentors in your life, and you're also, I mean, in a quite literal sense, a coach of people to get their life back together and to develop. And you probably talk about progress over perfection way more than I do, and that's a solid theme of this show. So I want to
Yeah.
talk about mentorship, but I also want to break down kind of maybe before, and let's try to loop it back in. We'll see how we do. What's your background that has enabled you to be successful or to see value that you can add to people as you coach them through their physical journey?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Man, I think what always fueled me a lot was being told no, or
Hmm,
that it's not that someone's
interesting.
not capable. And kind of going back to the whole finding out I had dyslexia, and even in high school football, my senior year, our coaches told us that no high school boys were mature enough to have captains on a team, and I was like, our team needs leaders on the team, and I rounded up a big group of our A players and said, hey guys, we need to lead, and we're gonna kind of smack that in the face and prove to our coaches that we need captains. And that year was the first year at my high school that the captains were ever chosen, and I was one of them. And I don't say that in a conceited way. I say that like I I love opportunities where, and I actually just kind of heard saying like this on a podcast today, was a lot of success or progress is just pressing through the discomfort, or like pressing through the hard. It's like so
Man,
many people get so close to where they think they want to be, or they have this vision where they want to go, but then they actually experience how hard their journey is, and they realize like this is hard. Another analogy on a podcast I heard was hazing some fraternity guys, and the leader was like, "Raise your hand if you thought this was easy," and no one raised their hand. And he said, "Raise your hand if you thought this was hard," and they all raised their hand. They're like, "Okay, what you're experiencing is hard." So now their
This is what
perception,
hard feels like.
this is what hard feels like. Like is the Alex
I was gonna
Hermanzi.
say that wasn't Alex Hermosi, was it?
Yeah, yeah. I always say his name wrong. I feel bad, but
Yeah, no, man. I'm glad that you
dude, that's it's
that
so
he,
true.
that's great resource. Great resource. So
And
true.
a lot of that, and just pressing into some discomfort. I mean, even I was back home from college one semester and didn't have a job, and had the blessing of my parents, being here and helping pay for stuff. And I reached out to a guy all the way in Dallas from McKinney, said 45 minutes away, and said, "Hey man, I don't want to get paid, I just want to intern and shadow under you." At this time he was one of the top CrossFit Games coaches, and a pro Olympic weightlifter himself, and a Olympic weightlifting coach. And then he was like, "Okay, you can be here down at Deep Ellum around 5 a.m. when I start coaching." And I was like, "Okay, I'll be there." And I just showed up, and I wanted to learn, and be better as an athlete and as a coach. So looking for opportunities that are hard, and pressing into them, and being encouraged by no, or that's not possible.
Not a lot of people are willing to take that education for free. People will go into debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a degree, a piece of paper, and hope they get educated on something. But not a lot of people are willing to get schooled up. And I'm referencing what you're talking about, just being willing to go work and not get paid as an intern, but just to experience what it would be like to be under excellence at some capacity. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people struggle with just going and putting themselves out there, even if they have to sacrifice?
That's good. Man, you're hitting some deep, solid questions. I think I would. I guess I'm a millennial. I'm 30. Uh,
There we go. Yeah, represent. Let's go.
but also maybe not represent. But I mean, I think our era. It's like we remember what it was like to have like a CD player and a VHS, and like the
Yeah, we're right
AM
there in the middle, man.
internet to be slow. But then we've also experienced like just such a huge technology boom.
No
Um,
doubt.
and so yeah, I think with that, people just want results fast, and it's just not realistic. Like a marathon takes a long time, and you got to take tens of thousands of steps to do it. You can't just sprint 100 meters and then say you did a marathon. Like that's not what a marathon is. And I think that's life, and that's business, and something that I was just talking to a younger athlete this morning. His dad brought his son in and wanted me to work on some form checks with him, and I was sharing some of those things of like he we did a bench press. I'm teaching him form and like proper exhaling and when to be powerful on his press. And he goes, "Man, that's the most I've ever bench pressed." After we just did 5 reps, I'm like, "Dude, are you kidding me?" And then we
Let's
added on
go.
like almost 20 more pounds again. And I said, "Look, man, 10 minutes ago, that weight on the bar, you would have never thought you could have done it. That was your hard. But now the weight that you thought was hard is easy. That's your new baseline. Like, welcome to growth." And people just want a quick fix, a quick return for what they feel like what they invested into their internship or their job is. And it's not realistic. I mean, there's a lot of effort and blood, sweat, and tears that have to be poured and sowed first before you reap some of the benefits from that sowing.
I feel that. I feel that for sure. I preach all the time. I am a mastered seed planter. Sometimes I have to be very intentional with the ones that I go back to water and what I sow into. But I'm a master seed planter, man. I am the king of dropping that line of inception and letting ideas grow, and just putting that thought of, if I can improve 1% every single day, over time, that compound. But pulling it back to mentorship, it's crazy how I could put in all this work into an area, and then I could have somebody who's at a higher level speak into me and just autocorrect a few things. And it's crazy how we can jump so many levels
Yeah.
through mentorship. So I know you talked about working under. So how long did you get to work under the CrossFit gym
Yeah,
coach?
that coach, and he was an athlete himself, but that was just for one summer. I think it was my after my sophomore year.
So
So I
what
was like,
other coaching mentorship have you
yeah,
gotten to really benefit from? And we could take this part two ways too. Break down quality leadership and mentorship, and I think some people need to know what poor mentorship looks like. So if you've got anything there that you can throw at us too, man, bring it on.
yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit of a twofold. I mean, my last semester of college, I interned at Michael Johnson Performance, um,
I'm very
and that was
familiar with
my
that spot. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
cool spot.
Yeah, it is. It's unfortunately it's not. It just closed down this past year.
I didn't know
But
that. Crazy.
yeah, crazy. I was also an athlete and trained there when I was younger. So that was kind of cool. Full circle. Grew up in McKinney and interned there, and was able to be back home. That was my last semester of college. Also, when I was planning the proposal for my wife, and bought a diamond ring, and the internship was unpaid. So another thing there was like, dude, I'm gonna buy this ring. It's gonna take all my money, and I'm not getting paid for this internship. But I kind of weighed of like, man, this is gonna look good on my resume. I'm gonna get to work with athletes. This is a niche that I want to be better at and coach and learn. And it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. I also learned a lot of what not to do. So kind of going back to your next question, there was, I guess, some traits that I really dislike in leaders. And I don't know if this was maybe an Alex podcast or just some others I've heard lately of when you feel like people have to like solidify themselves a lot to say what they've done or what they've accomplished or X amount what their business does. Sometimes there's a lot of insecurity and over exaggeration and trying to prove oneself. And there was a guy that used to be an intern at NJP at the time who then was like one of these lead coaches over some of the youth. And he was playing some really disgusting music, and I was not okay with it and was very vulgar. And so there's parents like watching their kids move out here. I'm like, we cannot play this music. And so I went in and changed it. And he tried to kind of throw that whole like, I'm above you, don't ever do that again, screaming across to me at the turf. And I just kind of was like, man, this is not the right time and place. So I think those are some traits that don't go well in leadership, is really demanding, dictating over people of what they should or shouldn't do, and trying to solidify themselves to make themselves feel more better of that they should be in that role for a reason. Um, on the flip side, some other really great leaders. I did Young Life growing up. In my freshman year of high school, the same guy that took me through camps and mentored me is still a mentor in my life today. We actually do a Bible study with him and his wife and some others right now on Tuesday nights. And he also married my wife and I and did our premarital. And I actually had a
Nice. That's
call with him
amazing.
the other day, like just like, man, I just need to ask him like husband questions. Like I've dropped the ball on a couple areas. And so going to people that have like already experienced and gone through seasons of life that you have, where they can overcast some solid wisdom that align with a lot of your vision and your beliefs. I think those are great aspects of leaders. Um, and not in ways where you can just take from them, but you really respect and listen to what they have to say and what they've been through. So kind of going back to what you said, that just helps kind of autocorrect a little bit of, man, that maybe I've been told that in one way, but the way you said it just clicked a little bit better, or maybe I respect it more because it's from you and not somebody else. And so I think those are some good and bad traits of leaders and mentors.
Yo, 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 thanks for listening this far. It's at this point in the episode that I want to talk about Streetwise franchising, teaching, training, building, Streetwise franchising. As a franchise consultant, it's my job, it's my absolute pleasure to be able to help aspiring entrepreneurs find, launch, and build their ideal business. If you've always wanted to start your own business, but you don't know where to start, if you want to leave that corporate job, but you're a little afraid to take the risk, I'm here to help. I've been a franchise owner For almost a decade, I've learned what it means to build a team, to run a business, to struggle. And I know, based on my experience, how to help others find the right ideal business for them. Streetwise franchising. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Let's get back to the episode. Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's kind of break this down, man. So we all have different parts of our kind of our personality. We got our mind, we got our body, we got our spirit. And so there's spiritual mentors and spiritual leaders, and there's coaches for our physique, nutritionists for our health, and teachers and people in the academia. And then you got just solid like life coaches. Um, have you been able to kind of plug people in these different areas? What areas do you think that you at this point in your life now, say you're 30 years old, married, few kids, where are you strongest in, and where are areas like, okay, maybe I do need a little bit more intentionality in seeking mentorship in this category? Have you
Yeah,
thought through any of that as you keep growing and keep grinding?
yeah, that's a vulnerable question. Man, dude, it's such a cliche saying of like, you feel like the older you get, the less you know. And
I feel that.
I definitely feel that. And I think, um, gosh, dude, yeah, that's heavy. I think maybe the old me might look at where the new me is at and be like, oh, he looks like he's doing really well, and he's like figured it out more. And I would say that's a hoax. That's not true. If anything, I've tried to be more open to my vulnerability that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to fail forward and try to figure it out and learn as I go. Um, and so I guess kind of with that come full circle, I've realized just more recently how much of an importance it is to have a solid spiritual leader in my life, a solid business leader, or mentor in my life. And then kind of, I think those are probably the two biggest for me right now, because I pull a lot of other things from those as well within fatherhood, within being a husband, within being a leader to my team and to my coaches and my clients. So, yeah, that, yeah, I'd say those two are probably the biggest right now for me.
No, what a good answer, man. And I appreciate you for matching and for meeting me there, man. That's good. Again, I feel like that's going to help some folks. When you are building out your marketing, or when you're looking for your ideal avatar of who you serve,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of dig into the business side with this one, and then we'll kind of expand back out from there. You're building out the avatar of your ideal customer. Who
Yeah.
do you provide the best service to? I know you go to people's homes. I know you offer a concierge model, but you're also talking about athletes. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
executives. What does that look like for you?
Great question. Yeah. I think as we just continue to try to sharpen this tool of like our niche and our avatar, I mean, I work with, I'll say too, I work with a business coaching group right now that's been super, super helpful with coming up and fine tuning a lot of these, which has been awesome. It's NPE, Sean Greeley, out in, they're kind of more Australian based. They do a ton of work here in the US, and they have helped a ton with a lot of systems and operations and not fun stuff, but also avatar things. But man, I think, yeah, the deeper we get into it, the more you just realize like how important a niche is. And instead of being whatever the saying is of like kind of good at a lot of things or really good at a few things. And so we're trying to slowly continue to do that. I mean, most of our clientele, I think, on our social media and some of our other outlets, we're like high end premium concierge training for retirees, business executives, and busy moms. Those are kind of like what are three things that like we've when we really look at our avatar and our niche, it's between 45 to 65 years old, a little bit older, a little bit younger, and most of them are successful executives, business owners, or they're C level, executive level, kind of pioneered throughout their space and their successes. And then, a lot of moms or wives that are husband, or excuse me, spouses to a lot of those kind of guys. And so that's kind of where our niche. Yeah, we have a couple athletes, and we do a little bit of online. But I mean, our niche and where we continue to dive deep is that type of clientele: 45, 65 executives, busy moms, retirees, have more of a disposable income that have seen like, man, longevity is way more important now. I want to move well, feel good, be pain free with my grandkids, live long. And that goes back to even some of my story of being an ex CrossFit athlete and almost making it to the games back in 2018 and did Olympic weightlifting. But man, I was hurting. I was eating a ton and going to the chiropractor 24/7. And an analogy I use a lot is like, you don't see football players, NFL players, professional athletes playing those sports into their 65, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's in their prime. And the same thing with CrossFit. Nothing against it. It has a beautiful community aspect and a ton of greatness. But where a lot of group training begins to kind of, lower its experience and its offerings is in a group model. You cannot offer really more personalized care for their movement and their progression in a big group. And so we've tried to really stay in our niche of one-on-one and small group. We do that on our private location here. Beautiful, clean studio, not a lot of people in it all the time. And we are focused on that person or those couple people. And then, of course, that concierge higher end experience. We service clients in home. And then we also specialize in that home gym build out as well, where we can come in, take over that whole process, build them out a beautiful custom home gym. And then if they need coaches, we can send our concierge team to go see them.
Wow, that's really cool. I remember you saying that in one of the groups, but I'd like to kind of break down right now. What are all the different services, products that you guys offer?
Yeah. So our location's here in McKinney, Texas, right off Virginia and Highway 75. So our private studio is here. We service one-on-one and small group personal training, 30, 45, or 60 minutes. We do a complimentary consultation with our clients. We always say we want to make sure we're a good fit for you and that you're a good fit for us, um, which is true. And they're like, "Whoa, me a good fit for you?" Like, yeah, we want to service the right customer, but
Don't
we
you
also
just want my money? Shouldn't I have a
exactly
checkbook? Shouldn't you
no,
shouldn't you take it no
no.
matter what?
Yeah, and I mean and I then will kind of jokingly say like, "Hey, like, can we go on a date first?" Like, I mean, like, that it's really what it's like. And we even say after that complimentary consultation, like, "Look, man, no strings attached." I mean, going back to kind of what we said earlier, like, if there's anything I want, and I tell my team this all the time, they probably get sick of it, is guys, we are going to give people authenticity. And if we are not the right fit for them, you know what we're going to do? We're going to refer them to another gym. Because at the end of the day, our mission is to impact people's lives through a higher end training and lifestyle experience. And if that's not with us, we're not going to be greedy and rude and disrespectful. We're going to show them care and value because we care about people, not just their checkbook. And say, hey, go check out this gym. They actually do great group classes, or go, this space might be good here. Or hey, maybe this physical therapy would be a better start first, and then you come and see us. Um, but yeah, dude, I mean that is something. There are enough fish in the sea for all of us, and it's not your job to build my business. It's my job, and I'm gonna work hard on that. But yeah, so a little tangent there. But
That was perfect.
at our location, private one-on-one small group here, and then servicing clients in home where we can assist with some equipment build out or taking some of our own equipment. And then kind of that third pillar is that custom home gym build out. So that's really our bread and butter.
That's cool. So let's dive into the makeup of your team. What is your staff? What does your team look like personnel wise?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually almost kind of cut right down the middle right now. We've got myself and two other great guys. I've got a lead executive concierge coach, Matthew. He's like my right hand man. And then another guy coach named Jordan, and then two girl coaches, Aaron and Brittany. They're all rock stars. And we've got a new guy that's going to be starting with us here in the next week or so, mid July. And dude, they're awesome. I mean, going back to like trying to hire A players. I mean, we want A players, people that buy into the vision. All of our coaches, just personally and openly, are W-2. So my coaches are not contracted, and I don't do that in a selfish way to have control. Now, let's be honest. I want control in the sense of like, I want to build a brand. I want to build a professional, high end training experience. In my personal opinion, in this industry, there's not a lot like that. And I've even told the team this a couple weeks ago at our bi-weekly team meetings. It's like, guys, the bar is set so low. People experience such bad coaching. They get put into position. They hurt themselves. Like it, when you take on the hat of what I'm telling this person is either going to help them or hurt them, and you take full responsibility for that, it is very sobering. And so that weight that you put in their hand, you better make sure you've progressed them to be able to hold that weight or to do that pattern that you're asking them to do. And you're going to coach them effectively and efficiently to do that well. And so when people think about our brand, luxury lifestyle training, I don't want them to just think about that one coach or that coach does it kind of good, that coach does it better. I mean, I want them to think overarchingly like this is a brand that is established, is professional, cares about people, and puts out a good service.
That's cool. What does it take for somebody to qualify to be one of your trainers?
Yeah, a funny kind of phrase that an old gym I used to work at and boss had was they first got to be a certified nice person, CNP, and of
I
course
like that.
it's huge. And definitely, of course, some sort of coaching, personal training, background, certifications, degree, those are all kind of part of that process, of course. But and also, I mean, it's really kind of a pretty long onboarding dating phase. Like this guy right now, Robert, he's coming from Texas Tech. He's actually gonna be our youngest guy. And Matthew and I are so excited. My lead coach Matthew are so excited to pour into him. And I mean, he gets it and wants it and has the capacity to do it. If you know where that's from, it's EOS.
GWC, baby.
Yep.
Let's go.
And
Yeah.
man, he's I mean that's real. Like you want to try to, of course, give anybody opportunity and give them a platform to succeed, but there's definitely when you're building a brand and things of an avatar for a client, you kind of have this avatar as a coach of experience, their care, their authenticity, their self-awareness. That's huge. um, so those are all very, very important with some sort of degree, fitness related certifications, kind of practice what they preach through their platforms. And honestly, look the part. I don't need to go down a rabbit hole there, but definitely believe that, like, man, if I'm working with a trainer, I want to be like, hey, I maybe want to look like that guy. Or, like if I'm working with a holistic nutritionist, I want to walk into their office and see tons of alcohol and fast food on their plate. Like, I don't know, you
Right.
know what I mean? Our onboarding process, we require them to do 10 to 30 shadowing sessions with Matthew and I. And those are all, voluntarily during that onboarding process. Cause again, it's kind of part of that dating phase of like, hey, we're going to get to really talk. You're going to hear more of our lingo. And I tell my team, like, Brittany has an amazing gymnastic, cheerleading background. Matthew has a lot of group, high energy background. Aaron does amazing with a lot of our older clientele, kind of post physical therapy. So everyone's got some of these different touches. I tell the team, like, guys, this space, this gym is a canvas. Like, paint your picture. I want to see new patterns. I want to steal patterns and movements that I see you do with your clients because it looks so good. And I'm like, oh man, I never thought about doing that way. Or, ooh, I'm going to try it with that dumbbell instead of that kettlebell. And we all are feeding off of each other and sharpening our iron. But when I put all of our canvases together, even though some paintings might be different, the overarching beauty of them and the professionalism should be the same, right? I don't have, as much as I love my 2 year old's drawings, they're not going to look like Picasso, right? Like, and so that has really helped a lot to allow coaches to dive into a little bit more of their creativity and their touch. But at the end of the day, their care and what they put out and their coaching is at par or better.
There's a lot of value there. Hiring the A players and then taking time to onboard them and create a culture that not only provides value to the client and the ideal client, but also to
Yeah.
your ideal team member too. And you got
Yeah.
to be able to attract them and keep them and grow them. One of my favorite kind of concepts. It's kind of a quote, but I don't know where it originated from. But it comes out of, somebody asking the question, well, what if I train my people and I invest in them and I put all these resources into them? What if I do that, and then what if they leave? And it's a person talking to their mentor, and the mentor turns around and says, well, come on, think about it. What if you don't do it and
Yeah.
they stay? How
Yes.
bad would that? That would be way worse.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a beautiful thing when you have an idea of what that culture needs to be. And you're never perfect, but again, progress over perfection. And every day you're just taking those steps. Um, I think it's cool that you're able to you have a spot in house that people can come to. That's huge. That gives you a local presence, not just in the
Yeah.
community, but also online when it comes to like Google and marketing and GLSA, GPB, BP, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you go to the customers, you go to the clients' homes, and you provide a personalized approach there. And if they live in a crazy spot or if they're completely new, you can build out a space for them. So you're really providing a holistic um, concept. So, as long as you're the right person, there's really no excuse because we're here to service you
Bro.
wherever
Exactly.
you're at.
And that's
Um,
it. And that's what we wanted to be able to do, is to eliminate excuse. And that's not in this way to be like corner you and be like, I got you. What's your excuse now? You're gonna work with me? You're gonna work with me? But it's in a caring way. It's not me in front of
yeah,
you. It's me coming alongside of you and saying, "Hey,
perfect.
you don't have equipment. That's okay. We can bring it to you." Oh well, hey, you're too far. Well, man, we could do a virtual session, or we have a travel expense fee. We could come to your house, or man, you don't want to be in your house. You want to get out. I get that. Come to our space over here in McKinney, and that has got people very quiet at times when they try to kind of give those passive no's, you know. Then it comes just that. Then sometimes I've just got to the point, and it's taken a lot of time to get here for me. And just respectfully, if we get all through those passive no's of like, oh no or no, and then I just will straight up ask a prospect or lead. It's like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you really want? Because what it sounds like is you want the end goal, but it sounds like you're a little timid on the journey to get there, and that really makes people quiet. And then that's just leading with some love there. Like, look, man, I'd love to be here for you, and maybe now is not the right time, but I'm not going anywhere. So give me a call when you're ready. But if there's any other way that we can assist you, let us know. And then you might just gotta let them go.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, you said there's a lot of fish in the sea. The pie, man, can always get bigger, and we don't need to have a scarcity mindset. We're not trying to
Yes,
have commission breath out here. We're trying to add value, and if we add value at a high level, the people will come. No,
100%.
that's cool, man. I run a lot. I was an athlete in high school, college, played football, ran track. Now I have fun. I'll do a Spartan race here and there. I do high
Yeah,
rocks. Never fully got into CrossFit, but um, totally resonate with trying to build my body. I put in about 20 miles a week, and I try to do some resistance training, and I do a lot of HIIT stuff, high intensity interval training for those of you who don't know.
yeah,
But how do you talk to people about the benefits of just functional fitness overall? What do people need to be thinking about as they are coming into this thing from a wide array? I have been blessed in the sense that um, playing sports, you stay generally healthy, and then I've been able to just roll that into the rest of my life. And so a
exactly.
lot of it's trying to stay healthy, not experience an injury, which can be hard when you're putting so much bang on your body. But yeah, just like not only the importance of being functionally fit and overall healthy, but how should I kind of wire my mindset as I begin this journey? Because I'm sure it's different for a lot
Yeah.
of people.
That's a great question. And that's where we hopefully as professionals have the opportunity to shine and show off in a good way and meeting those clients where they're at. we do a lot of that vetting through our consult process where we're inviting them
Okay.
in or doing in home. We have a list of about 6 to 10 questions to clarify and solidify any pain, range of motion issues, activity level of the past 60 to 90 days, previous athletic endeavors. 'Cause a lot of people have the glory days still on their mind or the ego. And it's like, well, hey,
It
let's
gets
create
different, man. It doesn't stay that way forever.
you know,
That 90 days goes
right.
quick.
But we also then offer, we have a body composition screening tool that we use.
Okay, cool, cool.
And people are like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, look, it's a tool, just like a tool in your toolbox. Don't let it take you off. Just, use it as a guide to see progress. Because when we lose some weight or gain some muscle and you're looking in the mirror, someone you see hadn't seen you in a long time and says, man, you're looking really good. You're going to wish you would have done that baseline composition screening. And then we also do a functional movement screening, the FMS, where we rate some different stability and mobility issues, pain, range of motion. And so that, as professional, gives us a solid baseline and ground to stand on and be like, hey, I know you said you want to do that race here in the next 6 months, but here we got to kind of start here, and we're going to get you there, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Being realistic. Another thing, I forget what probably mentor or leader in my past told me this is people's training age is different, and that was huge. Like for me, for you and
Very
I,
true.
like your dad or my dad, anyone older than us is older in age for sure. 6 year old is 30 years older than us, but my training age could that the guy like my mom, for example, she had never worked out with ever in her life or played a sport, and she didn't start training with me until she was in her mid 50s, going on 7 or 8 years now. She's now out of osteoporosis. We fixed a cold shoulder. She's stronger than she's ever been. But her training age was zero, man. And when I say like she moved like Bambi, and I mean like we joked still about it this day. Like some of her form was the hardest for me to correct because she didn't have mind to muscle connection. She didn't have awareness, and that's not an all in a way to be like, oh, whoa, I can't help you. It's just, hey, this is going to take some time, and we need to regress before we progress. And someone's training age is huge, and that is something I try to really get my coaches to understand. Is like, look, it comes more natural for you and I. Just like you said, we grew up playing sports. We played ball in high school and into college, and got into other adventures, and so our training age is 20 plus years. And so even though we're working with someone that's older than us, respecting their biological age, but also trying to get them to respect your fitness or your training age as the professional. And when you share that with clients, that really has seemed to resonate with people like, oh wow, I've never thought about it like that. Like I'm a newborn, or I'm kind of a preteen in the sense of training, and it's going to take some time to get to that adult level, or whatever.
Is there like a top end to that? So like what is the prime age, fitness age
Mm.
range that you want to kind of aim for? Is that even a thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of different gyms, or like CrossFit World, for example, they have different benchmark workouts or hero workouts, or workouts like Fran and Cindy, and like other things that you can quantify, like how fast your time is or how heavy you can lift some weights. And those can then be sectioned off of like your age range of like 30 to 34 or 35 to 39, or really like 40 to 50. And so we've thought about dabbling into like, man, what is like a prime, like what should a 40-year-old male between 40 and 50 like shoot for to be able to check and be like, man, I'm fit, I'm in shape, I've got good cardiovascular health, metabolic conditioning, strength, functionality, range of motion, stability, mobility. And it kind of just explain that. It starts to get a little intimidating in the sense of like, when people just see those numbers or something, then it becomes like, oh, I just need to get that. And then like they check a box and they might go downhill, or it might create injury because they try to skip some steps to get there. So if anything,
Mm.
it sounds really kind of just cliche again, but trying to meet each client where they're at and listening for those emotional triggers of like, hey, you said your son's getting into high school and you want to be able to throw the football and help them out as an offensive lineman because you were an offensive lineman. let's get you moving well and feeling good so you can give a little bit of power back to him when you guys are out in the backyard. Like that is where a lot of our clientele are now, is like it's not really pursuing this number or this time. It's pursuing like functionality outside of the gym with their family and their social life so they can feel good, have energy, and be functional throughout those patterns. And so we say that a lot, is we want to be as functional and fit and progressive in here during our 1 hour 45 30 to 60 minutes with you, so you can be as efficient and maximize the other 23.
Appreciate that. That's really good. There's a lot there. What are you looking for as a business owner, leader in your space? What are you looking for now to kind of level yourself up and be in a position where you can work more on your business rather than being stuck
Mm.
in?
That's a great question, and I'm sure my team would like be perked ears to hear what my answer is on this. Uh, Man, it's a journey. It is a process. Like it just takes time, and that's something I've really had to. There's some milestones and goals I had set that I wanted us to be at by this time, uh, this year that I planned. 90 to 6 months ago, and we're almost there, but we haven't reached it. And there's been moments of like frustration, but also like, man, just get on the saddle, keep sawing, let's go. Um, I'm still one of the number one training producers in our space. I've also tried to move, like I said, my Mondays and Wednesdays are like crazy packed with training to try to work more on the business on those Tuesday, Thursdays, and partly Fridays. And we're getting there. And there's a lot of these other adventures. Our home gym build process is expanding a ton, and so I see a lot of value in expanding that niche. There's some other kind of executive performance endeavors that I'm a part of, a business called Entourage Health, as I'm the performance coach with this company. And so all of these kind of other branches all tie and come back to the mission to impact people's lives through higher end training and lifestyle experience. And so yeah, bringing on some of these other team members over this next 6 to 12 months, possibly bringing on another like admin ops person as well to assist with a lot of these day to day and metrics and oversight, so I can continue to work on the business and not so much in it. And definitely really seeing analogy I use a lot is like the Spider-Man movie when he's trying to rip off the black, like bad Spider-Man. It just keeps coming back and sticking to him. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
where I honestly feel like I am, and I'm sure a lot of business owners feel that way. Of like, man, I'm really close to just working on the business, and it's like, and then it gets sucked
And it
back
just
into
sticks
having to
back.
work
That
on it.
symbiote sticks
And
back on you.
gosh, so there's yeah, but there's still a lot of good there, and the time will come. And again, like I'm like, this is a journey. I'm not going anywhere, and
Yeah.
uh, there's no plan B. So
No, I feel that for sure. There's a rhyme to it, but it also is an art because, we're all building our business or, in this state, but building out our hustle, and there's like different pathways you can go down. You can either, do I replace myself on the admin side because I love being out in the field and doing the thing,
yeah,
or do I see the value of me being on this admin side and then having, just replacing myself? So you kind of touched on it, and bringing on the new trainer is probably going to help with the flow of clients. And then at that point, once you've got the admin side covered and then you've got the operations and the work covered, then it comes to building out that leadership team. And especially when you have multiple avenues, from the in-house to the build outs to the concierge in home. And then you talk about, all right, I know you got the lead trainer, but if I'm looking at, an athlete is different than a 60-year-old executive. And then it becomes building out leaders for each pillar,
yeah,
right? And it's a process, and we're
dude,
all
yeah,
going through the journey, and we don't need to compare our current chapter to, somebody else's chapter 12 when, we
hmm,
might be on chapter 4, right?
amen, dude, yeah. And even there's still, even within those pillars of like within your business, like there's some pillars that we may end up that we've cultivated some conversation on, realistically with some of our online coaching. It's our smallest revenue builder at the moment. And so I'm looking at my lead coach and having our leadership meetings of like, man, maybe we need to knock this pillar down to allow our coaches to thrive in the other pillars they really have more passion or desire for. You start to run some numbers, and so there's definitely some logistics on that end. And as business owners, you really got to kind of play that chess of like, okay, there might be some revenue coming in on this, but do we, should we, can we sustain not having it for the course of maybe 3 months from now that elevates the team in a better way to give them more on-site or whatever. For us, those are some ways that we're kind of also looking at continually to, I mean, another thing that we're looking into over the next 6 months, probably going into 2024, is since we have such good relationships with our clients, we're going to possibly try to go to some ACH payments. I don't know if you're familiar with, like, we use a merchant account for security and all of that for our payment processing that has up to like a 3% charge for every time we're doing, charges. In ACH, when it's drawn directly from the bank account, I believe it's like less than 1%. So it's like that's a change that we could implement. And as you get kind of deeper into, just some of the financing and the money side, which is something I'm really have dived deeper into this year, like, man, that alone could save the company upwards of 30, 50, $75,000 a year, depending on our revenue. So,
Oh, that's huge, man. It's those little things. It's
yeah.
getting the nuances. It's playing the game and being intentional with it. What let's wrap with this because I could talk to you all day and I for sure, dude, you're invited back on the Streetwise podcast. We can kind
Yo,
of nerd out about some more of this business stuff and some of this fitness stuff, and I could talk to you for a while. What kind of tools and resources are you using right now? Books, um, podcasts, things that you are gaining value from that's just kind of helping you through this chapter, continue to get that 1% better every day.
yes. And I would say the podcasts are huge. I have quite a few in-home clients that I drive to, and respect my time and I respect theirs, and so I've got a little bit of a drive to them, which I really have come to enjoy, of just not having the madness of the kids in the car and being able to just listen to other entrepreneurs and people not even within the same field, honestly, like other fields to learn from. So podcasts have been huge, as I shared, like from what I've learned back in college with dyslexia. Like it is hard for me sometimes to sit down and focus and read because my mind then starts thinking about all these other things I could be doing for the business or for my family. And so being able to kind of focus on the drive and listen and cultivate that imagination and vision from those podcasts has been huge. I didn't get to share a lot about my dad, but he is very influential in my life. He moved my family here to Dallas when I was 4 years old to start his entrepreneurial journey and going on in his business that's been very successful. And so it's been so cool to see just through the chapter of my kids, but then even more so now this chapter of entrepreneurship where he and I have just kind of created a new part of our relationship, as father to son, but also leaders within companies. And there's been ways that he's really stepped in, like probably almost like, Dad, don't do that, with some of my entrepreneurial decisions, because of his wisdom and him going through some of that in his past, where I'm like, what are you doing? And he has saved me in ways from some probably poor decisions. But also, man, I could cultivate and share a lot of ways that I've also seen him step back. And, I've kind of asked for more of his like input and wanted more of an answer, and I haven't really got it. And I'm like, okay, I think he's kind of wanting to see what I do here. And so that has been so fun to see and be a part of. He's going to be retiring in the next couple of years, and we've joked but seriously discussed just how his leadership could add a lot of value to my business. Um, and yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. Those two ways, and then the business coaching that I'm a part of with NPE and on weekly calls and things with them has been huge.
Oh, that's great, man. Again, I totally resonate. My dad actually worked at Apple Computer for 22 years,
Wow.
retired, bought the Mosquito Joe franchise, bought 4 territories, and then put me in charge of them. And I was like, all right, go. And yeah, crazy. And it's been a beautiful and wonderful and absolutely amazing blessing and opportunity, and to owe him everything, when it comes to just
Yeah.
my growth and the opportunity that I've had my whole life. And I think that's just, you said it, just embodies like what it means to be a father. We don't always get it right, but by golly, man, we're going to get it right more than not just by being intentional and
Mm.
knowing and studying our kids and just providing that opportunity and being there and knowing when to not. That's good stuff, dude. I appreciate you a lot, man. This was a great episode. Please come back. Let's do this
Yeah.
again. I'm gonna close this out with the stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.
Thanks, man.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for making it to the end. Hey, if you like this episode, if it added value in any way to your life, do me a favor, give it a like, share it with a friend, give me a review, leave a comment, whether that's a rocket emoji, thumbs up, a fire, 100 emoji, leave me something. It's the only way to get this out there to other people, and I appreciate you so much for listening. As always, stay humble, stay hungry, stay streetwise. Peace.